Back on Gertie Road, back again, that Sunday mood. Well, here we are, Sunday, late afternoon, early evening, and we're back, gathered together, one and all. I thought we'd have a look at this African Parks debacle. Again, I think I've done something on it before, but it seems to be coming up every now and again. It's like a lot of commentators have said, when this comes up, she'll go out and sell jam, or she'll be seen getting a pat walk somewhere. They will do anything to cover it or to try and get that story downgraded in the public domain, so to speak, by putting something else in there, like they're going to have a reconciliation with Vlad the Impaler or something. Do you know what I mean? Something absolutely left field and ridiculous, and in no way anything to do with what needs to be. The pertinent point is, what are you going to do to help or to protect the women and the children of the Baka indigenous tribes of the Congo Basin, my darling? What are you going to do? Please, can you tell us, one and all, as you seem to have voted yourself in to be president. You were on the board of directors and now apparently you're president of the known world. And to be fair, if you look into the background of the African parks, him being the president of the park, African park charity vibe thing that's been going on, pretty much is president of the known world. Or the known world that they know, not us. Do you know what I mean? Because I think I've said it before. Africa, my darlings, in the future is going to be the proviso of, well, let's say people that have got lots and lots of pots to piss in, if you get me. And you need to look into the back of it. A good one to go on to is The Royal Grift. She's absolutely amazing. And another channel I like is Really Graceful. She always brings stuff to the table. Really graceful. In fact, now I'm thinking of it, I haven't seen her on YouTube for a while, so I'm wondering if she's still on there. I mean, answer us in the comments if you know. I love Really Graceful. She's brilliant. Yeah. So, shall we just jump in and see what this mug's been doing? Come on, mug. What's happening?
Yeah. Joining me now.
Hello, Dawn, darling. Love your girlfriend. You all right, girl?
Broadcaster and commentator Rafe Haydo-Manku.
Yeah, babes. What's going on?
Now, we normally talk about things.
Oh, I love to have me a bit of Rafe. I love a bit of Rafe. Well, he's a historian, isn't he? So obviously I'm going to love him. Right, let's go.
Usual royal experts. This is a
Come on,
different
Rafey.
kind of story. What's going on with this one?
It's a different kind of story, and it's actually a rather disturbing.
Was a restraining order at one point, but I'm not going to talk about it on here. Do you get me? It's a bit... Well, I'm still sort of suffering from it, you know. It's all very unseemly and just a big misunderstanding. But I think he's over me now.
Story. This has all come to light through a new book called Entrepreneurs in the Wild.
Right.
Which is the result of 3 years of investigative research by a Dutch journalist into an organisation called African Parks, which was set up to stop poaching, which in itself you think is a noble aim.
Yes.
This organisation is funded by...
Yeah, see, yeah, exactly. We're getting to the crux and the crotch and the very nadir of what's going on, because well, it's like everything with billionaires, it isn't as it seems, if you get me, capiche? Just saying. Just put it out there. I mean, don't listen to me, I'm mental. Right, go.
Billionaires in America by celebrities.
Yes,
Prince
yes,
Harry, for
yes.
6 years, was
Right.
its president. He's now on its governing council.
Oh, so he was the president. No, he was on the governing council. Now he's president, Rafey. Get me the programme, darling. He's now the Presidente, El Presidente. Yes! And on the surface, they're like saving the rhinos or something, do you get me? But there's a lot more going on. It's not really a cover for a load of other shit, but do you know what I mean? I'm not going to say, because basically, I ain't been any further than France, so I best not talk. Do you get me, capiche? Best stop flapping my bleeding lips and let you make up your own bleeding opinions, because it's all very dodgy, and I know what you're going to say. I know what you're all going to say. You're going to say, Gert, stop it. You horrible, nasty, old, bitter old boot. How can you say that about the Barry Barrington that's married to the marvellous Marklet? Well, they're as straight as dies. Honest to God. They couldn't even lie straight in bed, them two. Anyway, you know, you get me, capiche. So, let's go on.
Responsible for its policies and for managing the 22 different national parks.
Right.
A dozen African countries.
22 national parks,
this organisation takes place in.
Right.
But these allegations are that there was rape, torture
Right.
and abuse by the rangers.
Yes.
Who are local people who are paid by this organisation.
Yes.
Well,
so in other words, the Stasi, do you get me, capiche? I think, is that horrible little German guy used to do things like that? Yeah, he used to use his own people. Capos used to use the own people in the vain hope that they will be spared. The capos, weren't they? And the capos would go in and completely bully and butcher their fellow compadres in the vain hope that the horrible little German fella used to get himself about Germany in the 30s and 40s. Do you remember him? I mean, I wasn't alive. All right, I was alive. I mean, nasty. And he used capos, so he used the people against their own people, if you get me, capiche? So it's a bit like that. So it's a bit kind of fascistic, isn't it? I don't want to say that word because it is somewhat rude and rather crude and probably completely untrue, but it's my opinion. And so he gets the own indigenous population to sort of marshal and police the indigenous population. So basically they all probably get, if they're big, they get small uniforms. If they're small, they get big uniforms. Minimum wage, loads of power, and probably a bit of a whip going on, do you get me? And if you go into it, which I've gone into it, it's more, you don't really get it on YouTube because you're not going to get away with it on here. But if you go on TikTok and you listen to some of the accounts that some of the survivors, the Baka women, have survived, it is absolutely, you just can't believe. If you saw it in a horror movie, like say it was in Saw. It's a Saw Point Saw, isn't it? Yes. What with Trevor Eggleston, yes. Only the franchise to those movies. I don't like to talk about that, do we? Anyway, if you saw it in Saw, you'd think, nah, that's a bit, do you get me? It's a bit over the top. It's unbelievable. But apparently it's been going on. They've been behaving in the most appalling way. And there doesn't seem to be any comeback or pushback. And certainly the El Presidente, who is the dear Barry Barrington, hasn't said anything. And isn't silence violence? Or isn't silence complicity? Especially when you're the president or summit or even on the board of directors. So it makes me think that they're so far removed. And another thing it puts me in mind of, that young girl from Centre Barley. Do you remember the young girl? When he went over there, you know, he had that unfortunate incident with the fancy dress. And they needed to repackage him and make him look a bit more cuddly when he was younger. So he went off to Centre Barley and he made up a charity, didn't he, on behalf of his mother, to help babies with, I think it was HIV, wasn't it? And they had no life. Well, anyway, it would cost him about 12 quid a year, to keep this kid who he said he'd keep for the rest of her life. Problem is, she ain't seen hide nor hair of him since. If you look into that, it's another very sad tale. So to me, it does sound a bit like white saviour or neo-colonialism or imperialism that's going on. In other words, we're getting over there and instead of facilitating the African people themselves to take care of their countries, whether it's the Congo or Uganda or wherever, we're sort of going over there and just sort of taking over and using the people against their own people, as in the analogy I've given you of the capos. That's just my opinion. I mean, you know, make of it what you will, but that's the way I look at it. Because otherwise, why are the own rangers that are taken from the indigenous population being allowed to get away with brutalising women and children, and even men, to be honest, if you go into it, terribly. But they particularly seem to get a really weird delight out of, torturing women and children. Basically, Gert, it's difficult to know what words to use on YouTube, isn't it? Right, let's go.
Well armed, and they are taught to treat poachers as the enemy, almost as if it's a war between the two sides. Yeah,
but they're not treating just poachers. They're treating people that they live in that country, they live in that area, and if they go or stray onto the African Parks property, which last time they looked was what they called home, they get terribly abused and tortured. And that's all I'm going to say. And it needs to be spoken about. Because I think on and off we've been talking about this for a couple of months now. Coming up, coming down, people have been mentioning it. And it's just like in one ear and out the other with Bazzy, isn't it? I mean, unless there's sort of £1 million price tag on anything, he's not interested, is he, really? So anyway, I'll leave you with that. Wherever you are in the world, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good night. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Don't let the buggers get you down. And just smile. No matter what the provocation, just smile. Love you and leave you. Bye-bye.